Hey, what's up guys? Justin here and welcome back to 65 Drums. Today I'm doing another episode of 65 Questions, the semi-regular show where I answer different questions you guys send me over Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I posted that I was going to be making another one of these episodes. You guys sent me a bunch of interesting topics to cover, so who knows, you might actually be in this video. Watch all the way to the end. Now, just before we get into the questions, want to mention that yes, I actually have been gone for a while. I was gone on a 2-week work trip out of country, so I couldn't really make any videos while I was gone. And also, it takes a while to make a video when you get back into the swing of things. Anyway, let's get into the first question. The first question is from Kristen, who writes, "Hey Justin, are the new Becky triggers what you asked for in the review of the earlier ones? Should I buy some of them for converting my Yamaha drum set?" Now, if you don't know who Becky is, it's actually been a while since I've reviewed most of their stuff. They sell a lot of conversion drum sets. So they take acoustic shells, put electronic components in them, they take metal cymbals, turn them into electronic metal cymbals, and they sell that as a whole kit. They don't make the drum module, that's the one thing they don't make, so you usually just buy a Roland drum module to go along with their shell and cymbal pack that you buy from them. They sent me a bunch of products to review like years ago when the channel was a lot smaller. I reviewed a whole set of their mesh heads if you want to go check that out. I've reviewed their side mounted trigger and a center mounted trigger of theirs. And I've also reviewed a low volume electronic cymbal of theirs that a subscriber let me borrow for a while. What do I think of their brand new triggers? I've reviewed the ones that actually like contract and expand. You can actually just resize them depending on how big your shell is. I reviewed those, and I also reviewed the side mounted ones as well, but I haven't reviewed these new triggers. These are brand new. Now, when I was testing Becky's triggers, they all worked, but I like the side mounted ones more because they were just out of the way. They just worked, nothing really to mess around with. And the ones that sort of like expand and contract, they tend to like bend downward slowly over time because there's a screw right there in the middle. You get it to the right size and then you turn the screw so it stays rigid, but eventually it will bend in the middle like this. And your trigger is right there in the middle, so it slowly loses contact with the bottom of the mesh head as it bends slowly downwards, unless you really crank it and get it into place. So I was more of a fan of the side mounted triggers. Well, it looks like with their new trigger system, I have not tried it, but they're using a 4-post design, which means it will be a lot more sturdy. So I like this trigger right here, and I also like their side-mounted triggers. I wish they would switch over to trigger cones, but you can always upgrade to trigger cones if you want. You can buy them on eBay if you want to upgrade these triggers later on as well. Now, of course, take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt because I have not tried these, but it looks like it's a solid upgrade over what they've been doing before at a very, very reasonable price. Okay, so the next question is from Aaron, who writes, "Hey Justin, are the various drum module coach functions really useful, or are they just gimmicks / novelties and a waste of time? Are there any other alternatives to a drum coaching function on a drum module?" So that's like two separate questions. As far as the first question goes, it kind of depends on if you're going to stick to it. I mean, if you're going to, play with a metronome coaching function on some drum modules and you commit to do it like for a half an hour every day, at the end of a month, you will see results. For most people, though, it's kind of going to be a thing where they try it out once or twice as they're messing around with the different menu things, and they'll try it, and then they'll sort of forget about it. It's like fun, but it doesn't really hold your attention as much. Another thing you could buy is called the Beatnik Rhythmic Analyzer. As far as drum coaches go, that was the best I've ever tried in my life. It showed me how terrible of a drummer I truly was. So here I've programmed a really weird pattern right here where it's a quarter note running into 8 triplet, running into 5/1, running into 7/1. And you can string all of those together, and here's what it sounds like. It can track your accuracy from 1/512th of a note. However, I can't quite recommend this fully. The screen isn't as perfect as I would like. I actually had to return a previous unit and I got this one instead because the other one wasn't working. Also, you can use batteries with this thing, but that stopped working and now I'm just plugging it straight into the wall. By the way, if you're wondering what drum modules have what coaching features, I actually covered this in a very in-depth video. It's about all the different coaching features that Roland, Yamaha, Alesis, and those drum companies have. Each drum module has more or less of them, and sometimes they've got the same coaching thing, but it's under a different Roland name or Alesis name. Now, about the second part of your question, are there any alternatives to drum module coaching functions? There are 2 programs that you can download that pop into my mind. The first one is called Melodics. There's a free version. There's also a fully unlocked paid version that you can download. But anyway, it's basically Guitar Hero, but for drums. and you got the notes that come down, you got to play on time, and it slowly gets more and more difficult. So that's one thing you could download. You can try out the free trial version. There's a bunch of free content in it, and if you really like it, you can pay the monthly thing. The other program that I can think of off the top of my head, man, I'm not sure if I remember it. It's like VDrum Tutor or something. I believe you can actually drag in MIDI data from any song that you want to learn how to play, and it will actually show actual drum notation, and it interfaces with your Roland drum set. It's like an old program. I don't know if it works with Windows 10 anymore or not, but that's another program that popped into my mind when you asked about this. Okay, so the next question comes from Samuel, who writes, Justin, what do you think about the Millennium 750 and 850 line of drum sets? I just wanted to touch on this question really briefly because unfortunately I get it all the time and I can't really give a good answer here. Millennium isn't actually sold in the United States, it's only sold in Europe. Now I get that you can order it and then it can be mailed to the United States, but I'll never really get to play one unless I actually go out there and spend $1,000 and buy one myself. So I can't really give a review about it. It's more of like a European line of drum sets. I do think Medeli makes them. Medeli makes all the Simmons drum sets. Medeli makes all of the Alesis drum sets, and I believe they also make the Millennium drum sets. So if you want to know like a general idea of whether or not it'll be good or not, just basically think an Alesis drum set around this price range at this size, that's kind of what you're going to get from a Millennium drum set. But I can't really give you a firm opinion on anything because I don't want to make assumptions. They are their own line of drum sets, and I probably won't be able to play them unless I actually go over to Europe or buy one myself. Okay, so the final question of the day is, what do I want to see improved on the TD-25 successor? We all know that Roland is working on the TD-35 or the TD-37, whatever it is they're going to call it. The TD-17 came out, and that made it so that no one really needs to buy the TD-25 anymore. The TD-17 is cheaper, and it's better, in my opinion, than the Roland TD-25 line. And you can just tell with the way everything's lined up, and they're slashing prices on the TD-25 right now if you look on certain websites. Obviously, the TD-25 will be replaced in some time in the future. Maybe it's a year from now, maybe it's half a year from now, I don't really know. So, what do I want to see improved in this new TD-35? That's what I'm going to call it. The new TD-35 needs to have a larger snare. The TD-17 has a 12-inch snare now. The TD-35 needs to have at least a 12-inch snare. It also should have positional sensing. The TD-25 snare has positional sensing. The TD-17 does not. So that's a differentiating factor. Even though the snares will be the same sizes, the TD-35 should have positional sensing on the snare. I also think the floor tom should also have a 12-inch playing surface. So it should be 12 snare, 10, 10, and then a 12-inch floor tom. I think that makes it stand out a little bit more, and drummers are liking larger electronic drum sets now. I think it's been the case that drummers have always liked large electronic drum sets, but now the companies are just finally starting to realize it. Now, as far as the cymbals go, I don't think Roland's going to invent a whole new cymbal for the new version of the TD-25, but I feel like they should bump up their ride cymbal to be at least a CY15R, in my opinion. The CY13 is okay on the TD-17. I think it's a little bit small on their mid-tier line of drum sets, in my personal opinion anyway. There's probably going to be 3 SKUs of this drum set. There's going to be a TD-35K, KV, and KVX because Roland is working in 3s now for each of their tiers. And, you know, I don't know what each one of those different versions of the TD-35 will look like. But yeah, they'll all just be a slight up progression as far as the pads go. Now, as far as features that I want to see inside of the new TD-35 module, of course, you need to have sample import. You need to have the ability to layer sounds. And I'm sure we're going to get both those things because the 17 has it and the TD-50 has it. I also want to see more sounds and sounds that are a little bit bigger. I like the TD-17 sounds, but one complaint that people have made about it is that you didn't really have any of the huge rock sounds that the Roland TD-25 has. And that actually pushed some people to buy the TD-25 set instead of the 17 because they couldn't find any of those massive sounding rock kits. So we need to have some of those inside of the Roland TD-35. That's just one weakness that they need to address. And one thing that I'm certain about is that because people are very tribal about drum brands for some reason, some people already hate the TD-35 even though it hasn't come out yet, and some people already love the TD-35 even though it hasn't come out yet. Okay, so that is it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more Q&A style videos, let me know down in the comments below. I might also start doing some live streams in the future. Let me know what you guys want to see on the channel. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in a few.